Hey mom friends, this is Functional Medicine for Moms, where we look at motherhood through the lens of functional medicine. I'm your host, Kelly Moline, a pharmacist with advanced training in functional medicine. From pregnancy and postpartum to everyday parent life, we talk root causes, natural solutions, and real stories from our own family's journey, plus conversations with experts along the way.
All right, we are good to go.
Welcome back to our podcast, Functional Medicine for Moms. I froze during that. I'm like, what do I say? Anyway.
I'm Landon.
I'm Kelly. And yeah, welcome back. Today we're talking about coming off birth control and what to expect with that. Last week, we talked about preparing for pregnancy, what most couples miss. And so I think a natural next one would be talking about coming off birth control, since a lot of women are on hormonal birth control, and if they're thinking about getting pregnant, they're likely coming off of that birth control if they were on it.
Yeah.
So I think more women now are more in tune with birth control alters my body. I may not like how it makes me feel. It doesn't have to be the solution for X, Y, and Z. I think birth control is good at stopping a pregnancy or preventing a pregnancy, but a lot of women are on birth control for other reasons, including acne, heavy periods, PCOS, and birth control, while it may help those symptoms, but it's not treating those things. It's pausing those things, and then you're likely going to get those symptoms returning, and sometimes with a vengeance, after you stop birth control.
And are you, so just for my knowledge too, is all birth control, they're essentially doing the same thing as far as like IUD versus like birth control pills? They're all kind of the same thing, and so coming off them is the same for everything?
So they're not quite all the same, but I think for this episode we'll treat them very similarly just for simplicity. But yeah, there's birth control pills, there's the shot, there's the arm bar, there's IUDs, there's the vaginal ring, there's the patch. Most of them have synthetic progesterone and then some sort of estrogen component. Some of them have both. Some of them just have the synthetic progesterone. So it depends on your birth control. But yeah, they're all going to stop the signaling from the brain to the ovaries. So most will prevent ovulation. The IUD sometimes does not prevent ovulation, but it thins like the uterine lining. So even if you ovulate and you like have the egg meet sperm, it can't implant. So then resulting not in a pregnancy.
Gotcha. And you're just saying, so you're saying that there's like an adjustment period basically coming off of birth control?
Yes. So there definitely can be an adjustment period, whether that is like all your symptoms coming back or even more things coming back. Let's say you're perfectly fine before and now coming off birth control, you're finding out that you have these symptoms, because birth control can also cause nutrient depletion, leaky gut, a lot of different things like that. So we want to help the body recover and create a more sustainable foundation, likely before having a baby. And I got my IUD out when I did get my IUD out years ago. The midwife told me too that there can be an increased risk of miscarriage like right after that. So she told me to wait 3 months after that to try to have a baby, which I got my IUD out I think a year or a year and a half before we wanted to have a baby. But then you can also get more regular cycles. Sometimes irregular cycles can be common after stopping birth control, because your body's like figuring out ovulation again and creating a regular cycle again. So we have that adjustment period.
So basically your body has to relearn how to operate naturally like it's supposed to?
Yeah.
Is it Does the ability to like relearn that, or the time it takes to relearn that, is that dependent on like how long you've been on it, or is it pretty much the same?
That's a great question. I'm not exactly sure. In theory, I think if you've been on it for a long time, it could take a little bit longer for the body to regulate. But they also say, oh, yeah, when you stop the pill or the second you get an IUD out, you can get pregnant. And I think that is still possible, but not always seen in practice. Whether that is either hard to conceive right afterwards because your body is trying to figure things out and there might be deficiencies there, or it can result in increased risk of miscarriage like right after you stop it.
Okay.
And again, like if you had a thinner uterine lining and that kind of stuff right afterwards, that can also just increase risk of it not implanting or miscarriage or things like that.
Gotcha.
So I think with that too, like your body's figuring it out, but as women being on birth control, we're also figuring out our body, whether that is like figuring out your hormones, figuring out your cervical mucus and what that's telling you with ovulation, figuring out your how you're feeling in each phase, whether that is your period, your follicular phase before ovulation, ovulation itself, and then after ovulation is called the luteal phase. So like figuring out how you feel in each phase, because I think as women, that's a big part of either trying to conceive or not trying to conceive, is like that's really natural family planning, is like listening to your bodies and it signals to you. And when you are in that pre-ovulation or a follicular phase or your fertility window, then your body's going to tell you like this is a great time to have intercourse so that we can get pregnant. So just figuring, like taking that time to figuring it out can be really helpful too. Which I think is something we're not learning growing up and no one's ever really teaching us.
No, I don't think anyone really talks about that from the guy's perspective. I mean, for me, I guess birth control has always been kind of like, oh, it's just a female thing, and like when they stop taking the pill, we get pregnant. So I guess none of this is really. I haven't really looked into any of this. So.
If you're currently trying to conceive or even just thinking about pregnancy in the near future, I'm working on something I am so excited to share with you soon. I'm creating a comprehensive preparing for pregnancy guide along with affordable fertility focused lab panels for both women and men to help bridge the gap between just keep trying and jumping straight into fertility clinics or IVF. This resource is designed to help couples optimize their fertility state, better understand their bodies, and identify potential issues earlier through comprehensive lab testing and education. Inside the guide, we'll cover things like nutrition and lifestyle for fertility, ovulation tracking and timing, supplements, male fertility, comprehensive fertility labs and optimal ranges for fertility, semen analysis, when to seek additional support, and how to take more intentional next steps moving forward. My goal is to help couples feel more informed, empowered, and less alone during the process without fear, overwhelm, or pressure for perfection. The guide and labs are not quite live yet, but you can join the waitlist now at molinmethod.com/fertility so you'll be the first to know when everything launches. Again, that's molinmethod.com/fertility. I truly can't wait to share this with you guys. So some temporary symptoms that could happen, or some symptoms that could happen after stopping the birth control pill or the birth control method, hormonal birth control method you're using, could be acne, mood changes, PMS, heavier periods, or even hair shedding. And these aren't random, so there's signals that your body is telling you. So even things like if you have PCOS or anything like that, it's like, although the birth control pill was like helping that, it's covering up those signals. So when we stop the pill or stop birth control and we want to get pregnant, but we talked about like we want our body in an optimal fertility state, or we want the body in like the healthiest state it can to want to conceive. We want to figure those things out. So just because we're on the pill, which paused our symptoms for that amount of time, we want to actually have time to address it. So whether that is acne, a lot of times like that's a gut health issue, whether that is, other things like PCOS, we can really focus on blood sugar stability, whether that is like, hopefully we do that mostly with diet. Sometimes you do need like extra medication to help that, or maybe extra supplements to help that. But those symptoms that you've been experiencing that we covered up basically like a Band-Aid, then we want to, once that Band-Aid's off, we see them again. Sometimes they're even stronger. So we need to figure out like, why is this happening? And trying to identify the root cause, whether that is with blood work or functional testing, then we can get the body in a healthier state naturally, and then you're more likely to have a healthy pregnancy.
Yeah. And all those things can take time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that would be like really frustrating though if you weren't expecting to get like acne back or any of those other symptoms after getting off birth control, and all of a sudden those appeared. Mm-hmm. And also with that too, just being the timing of it, there could also be, if you had a pretty healthy gut before going on birth control, if you all of a sudden had a less healthy gut, but birth control is masking that, you could get those symptoms after getting off birth control that you didn't have before going on it, and be like, what in the world?
Yeah. So like the pill itself can cause leaky gut, and it can cause a lot of nutrient deficiencies. So even if that's as simple as like, okay, we're going to prioritize homemade bone broth every day that has natural glutamine and things like that, so that we can repair that gut lining. And then we likely need to be eating a good diverse diet, but likely also need some sort of quality multivitamin, whether that's a prenatal or something else, but just helping replenish those vitamins and minerals that we've been missing from the birth control, because birth control will deplete B vitamins, magnesium, and zinc. So all important things, especially when we're talking about preparing for pregnancy and getting the body in its healthiest state.
Yeah, so it's not just hormones, it's like nutrition too.
Yes, exactly, which has a big impact on your body's health in general. Oh, and did you know when they created the birth control pill, because I think people get this misconception. I know we got this misconception that when you're on the birth control pill or patch or whatever, and you take a week off, or you take the different color of birth control pill, and I think people generally know like, those are my placebo pills or my sugar pill. But when they made the pill, when they created it, they didn't have that off week, because you generally don't need it. You're not ovulating or anything like that. So your uterine lining isn't growing. And so you don't necessarily need to shed it. So when they're creating the pill, they didn't have any sort of off week. So women thought that they were getting pregnant. And even though they were on birth control, but they would go to the doctors assuming that they were pregnant. And the doctor's like, has to explain to them, no, you're not pregnant. You're on this pill. That's why you're not getting your period. So they manufactured it to have this off week that looks like a period, but basically it's hormonal withdrawal bleeding. So you're bleeding because you don't have those excess hormones in your body anymore. And then that's why you're bleeding. So it looks like a period. The timing looks like a period, but it's not medically necessary, and it really isn't a period. So even if you feel like you've been having a period for a while, that wasn't truly a period. And so once you get off the birth control and you start ovulating again, that's when you'll experience that again. Isn't that interesting?
That sounds like so much extra work to have to like deal with the period symptoms when it's not even like really helping your body do
Right.
anything.
And so, like, even in pharmacy, I see a lot where doctors will prescribe, like, skip the placebo pills or anything like that
Yeah,
so
that
that they
sounds
can
like
just,
the easier way to go if it's not really medically helping you at all.
yeah. And birth control, we're not anti-birth control. I think there's a lot of ways to prevent pregnancy, but birth control is great at preventing pregnancy, but I don't think it's necessary for all these other things, whether that be acne, heavy periods, PCOS, other things like that, because it's not addressing the root cause, which is what I'm all about. It's just masking those symptoms until later. So, yeah. That's where it is. So, how do we support our body once we're getting off of it? Definitely the foundations, like we've talked about before, having protein with each meal, making sure our blood sugar is balanced. They do make continuous glucose monitors over the counter now. So people, even if you don't have diabetes, they can test their blood sugar to see what foods are affecting them. So if we're really not in the know, for you're curious about that, you can do stuff like that. But just eating well, sleeping well, like we talked about, getting enough sleep, getting that recovery, stress support, moving your body, those aren't rocket science. We want to do those things to get healthy, but then you're learning your new cycle, right? So trying to figure out how to track your cycle, whether that is a device, an ovulation tracking device of some sort, or just learning your body signals, like we talked about, like feeling those hormones, and tracking your cervical mucus. You can track your temperature, or things like that to do. But we're basically just rebuilding your foundation. We don't have to rush anything. And then I think a good multivitamin can be really helpful to replenish some of those lost nutrients, getting some sort of leaky gut support, especially if you're on the pill, doing some sort of probiotic, since and like a good quality probiotic, not just any probiotic, since your gut health may be altered. And then sometimes we do need to help the liver like work and process through those synthetic hormones and remove that, especially if we're dealing with acne or other things that might be like built up toxins in the system along with those synthetic hormones. So those are some things, and I know I've helped other people like get off of their birth control in the past, and like how are we doing this to support the body. So that might be an upcoming guide or like an additional guide that I make, but right now I am making the guide of preparing for pregnancy, like all of those things. We're talking about the foundations and the action steps and testing labs so we can see where we lie and where we can improve.
Yeah. So basically in this stage you're essentially, transitioning from restricting the body from doing what it needs to do to supporting it to do what it's made to do naturally.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Okay, so may take some adjusting. If you're trying to conceive and looking for a natural way to better understand your cycle, I personally love and use the KEG Fertility Tracker. It's actually what I use while trying to conceive Danielle. KEG is a medical grade fertility tracking device that gives personalized fertility tracking through cervical fluid patterns in just 1 minute a day. Unlike ovulation strips that only predict a hormone surge, KEG helps identify your fertile window in real time. A few things I personally love about it: it's a one-time purchase with no monthly subscription fees or ovulation tests. It comes with a 12-month pregnancy guarantee or your money back, and you can use HSA or FSA funds to purchase it. If you want to check it out, you can use my code Functional Medicine for Moms for $20 off, and I'll have the link down in the show notes. Again, that's Functional Medicine for Moms for an additional $20 off the KEG Fertility Tracker. So if you're having a lot of symptoms though, after you've stopped your birth control method and it's still not feeling like it's regulating, even like 3 or so months afterwards, then you can seek more help. Like if you're having really severe symptoms, severe acne, digestive issues, if you have PCOS and your period, your cycle isn't regulating, it's not coming back, you're not able to track ovulation very well, that could be a time where you reach out to a local practitioner, or you can definitely reach out to me and we can work one-on-one to figure out like what's going on with the body. And like even hormone testing, I don't recommend until about 3 months after you stop birth control would be ideal, just so your body can have time to adjust, have time to recycle. We talked about last episode how the egg takes about 90 days to create and then be released. So there's a lot happening before ovulation. It starts about 3 cycles before that. So yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, that's good to know that there is a point where you shouldn't just continue to wait it out and allow your body to, learn to operate naturally again. So there is a point where you should reach out to a specialist or something if it's not doing what it needs to. But I think in general though, this information is really important. I'm a guy, I don't have to deal with a lot of it, but I think a lot of people just not knowing that there is this this reset phase for your body might think, oh, my body's broken, I'm going through all these issues and stuff like that. So I think this is helpful information that I think not a lot of people talk about, where there is a phase where you're transitioning into like a more healthy, self-supporting system, and your body's trying to learn how to operate naturally. So like, I think people can take at least a little bit peace of mind that there's like a little waiting phase. Obviously, like you said, if it's taking a little longer than expected, like 3 months or more to really see things kind of smooth out, then reach out. But I don't think a lot of people talk about this stuff. And so it's good to know what to expect when you're coming off of the pill. So I think it's helpful.
Good. Because I think too, like we talked about at the beginning of the episode, people are like, okay, you get off of it and then you try for a baby.
Well, yeah, that was my assumption too. So I didn't know that you had actually gone through any kind of phase after getting off of birth control. Obviously, I don't think men and women like really talk about it a lot. It's kind of a weird thing to talk about, but yeah, it's good to know that there is a phase. So like, I think expecting it is just helpful because you're not going to stress about like what is going on. Mm-hmm. And obviously we want to not have stress. Stress is not good. So just the more you know, I think the more your body can like naturally and a little bit stress-free take care of itself and regulate. So that's good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Glad I could help and share with anyone who may be getting off of it or who's thinking about getting off of it or got off of it in the past and they're like, what's going on? And now we know why.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
All right. And I think is that what we want to cover, Landon?
I think
okay.
That's good.
Okay. So now you can give us a dad joke.
Dad joke. Okay. Ready?
Yes.
Why did the employee at the calendar company get fired?
Something about a date or the calendar.
He took a day off.
Oh, yeah, that's funny. Yeah. Anyway,
there you go.
I just was taking time to laugh about it. So yes, please subscribe. We're kind of in this phase right now. I think we relate the podcast a lot to what's going on in our lives, and we're in this phase as well as I'm creating this preparing for pregnancy guide and labs for people. For other people. So I'm doing a lot of research. It's definitely close to home. So I'm happy to talk about this kind of phase of life of trying to conceive, fertility, preparing for pregnancy, all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think there's a lot you can do to prepare. So
a lot more than we knew.
Yeah. Very interesting, but yeah.
Yeah. Whether it's your
patient with yourself though.
Yeah. Whether it's your first, your second, anything additional, I think it's important to prepare each time. And the more you know, the more you can do with that information, where if if you didn't know before, you didn't know. We can only do with what we know.
Yeah, and your body changes over time too. So the way you prepare the first time might be different from the way you prepare the second time.
That's true. Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, let's stop talking. Okay.
That was a little bonus information.
All right. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to my podcast, Functional Medicine for Moms. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe so you never miss one, leave a quick 5-star review, and share it with your mom friends who love it too. I'm Kelly with a background as a pharmacist and training in functional medicine. I help women move past fatigue, brain fog, gut issues, and hormone struggles so they can thrive in everyday life or prepare for a healthy pregnancy. Through lab testing, personalized supplements, and functional medicine coaching, I help you feel better, faster, naturally. Want to connect more? Head over to molinmethod.com or come hang out with me on Instagram and YouTube at Functional Medicine for Moms. On my site, you can order professional grade supplements at my discount or book a free discovery call if you'd like to see how we can work together on your health. This podcast is for educational purposes only and not medical advice. Always talk to your provider before making changes to your health plan. And remember, healthy moms raise healthy families. Catch you next time. New episodes released every Wednesday.